craved it. To this day, I don't. Yeah. I mean, now I don't like it at all. But
If you read a book and you stop reading for about 2 weeks, do you pick up right where you left off?
yes. Is that weird?
If you like a band and you like their album, do you want to go seek out the rest of the albums?
I do. Is that weird?
No.
What am I doing? What? Did I answer wrong?
You know Lone Wolf and Cub? 29 volumes? 27, something like that?
Yeah.
Love that manga. I've never finished it. It's my favorite manga because I'm the kind of person that if I read it for a while, I read first volume, second volume, third volume, fourth volume, fifth volume, sixth volume, seventh volume, ninth volume, halfway through.
So you'll even skip volumes?
You know, went right through, right
Seventh.
all sequentially.
Okay.
And then at the ninth volume, I got interrupted for some reason. I didn't read it for like 3 weeks. For me, that means I start back at volume 1. Okay, so then I have to go start from 1 again. I can't resume where I left off midway through 9. I can't even go back to the beginning of 9. I have to go right back to the beginning of 1 so I can follow the creator's headspace and, you know, internalize it so much to the point where the next step, I feel like I could have written this part. It fits the logic I fit in my head of how this story is coming together. Right. So, and then somewhere around volume 20 on the second reread, maybe 18, I got interrupted again. Right back to 0, starting all over again. And I've read some of these stories like now 5-6 times. So I think I tapped out around like the 5th reread where I was like, somewhere around volume 12, because there's a little bit of a drag around somewhere in the middle where I read it. I'd always stop at that point, and I just couldn't power my way through. And if I left it for a while, I'd go right back to the beginning. You know, so I'm that kind of person that is obsessed. Like if I like a book by an author and I finish that book, I want to get the next, whether it's connected or not, right away.
Yeah, I definitely become a fan of someone, so I want to get the rest of their stuff. What I do though is I can't start in the middle of anything. That's the thing I can't do. Like if there's something that's a series or a series of books. I've had this one book which my stepfather had recommended me. It's supposed to be like a great book and a sci-fi thing and all that. And but it's the second volume of a trilogy that really have nothing to do with each other. Really, like you can totally read the second one, enjoy it, have nothing to do. But I'm like, knowing that's the second part, I haven't read it. Yes. I'm like, no, I gotta get the first one, and I gotta read the first volume, you know. And then there's the,
A friend recommends a series to me, and it's like a series of sci-fi books, and it's like, listen, the whole series is good, but where you really want to start is on volume 5, because that's the best of the book of the series. Yeah. And you don't have to read, you didn't have to read 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can go back and read them afterwards. But I'm like, and the first volume is like, it's his first book, and it's crap, you know?
Right. So what's interesting about this is that I've talked with several people about how a lot of how they create things is that they're just inspired by an initial idea and they sort of fill in their imagination, you know, like especially when you're young.
Yeah.
You know, like I always say there's whole seasons of Thundercats that I don't even know if they exist. Right? Like, did I come up with all that shit?
They do exist.
Did I fill in all that?
They exist in the ether.
Right, yeah, exactly. So sometimes, you know, I think I have a really good memory, especially when it comes to reading. Mm-hmm. You know, I was trained to read by reading monthly comics. Right. So I was reading 17 stories at once, a month at a time. You know, so it was like...
Yeah, I think about it. How many stories? You ever think about how many stories you have in your head?
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
In progress, or somewhere in the middle, and you have them all going on.
Yeah, I didn't do that with comics. That's for sure. With monthlies,
I've never had much of a problem of like. I don't know, finding how it connects, and like even if I'm wrong, you know, and like if I'm dramatically wrong, that's a problem. But sometimes it's like. I don't know. Not every. If something's, if I'm completely engulfed in it, it's my favorite fucking thing of all time. Yeah. Then I want it to be right. Like I want to read it correctly. But if it's something I'm just sort of
Well, yeah, like garbage stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's throwaway. I'm talking about, like, when I talk about Lone Wolf and Cub,
Yeah, of
because it's a
course.
story I'm
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
any
yeah.
throwaway can be different than.
But I'm not going to sit there and I have to, like, my first Fast and Furious film was Fast 5. And I'm okay with that, you know? I don't know, I think there is, like, certain types of personalities that are more addictive that way, you know? And
You
I
want
have
to
an
try one,
addictive
too,
personality, but I don't think I've ever been completely addicted.
what's the opposite quality in you that prevents that? You have, like, a fuck you, I don't believe in,
I think
I don't.
my parents gave me a self-belief and a structure to like sort of find my way home. They kind of left me the breadcrumbs to get back to normalcy, and that's like whatever normalcy is a subjective opinion,
But they give you a moral compass.
Yes, and they equipped me with the steps that I need to like recenter myself.
So I was addicted to self-destruction.
Yes, exactly.
That was what the real addiction
Yeah,
was.
exactly. I think rather than saying I'm an addictive personality, I have self-destructive.
Yeah.
You know, if I have a safety net.
Oh yeah, you don't want the safety net. No.
But
You
I
want
do
to put all
have
the
it,
chips.
though.
Yeah.
But I do have it,
Yeah.
so that means I have to swing bigger.
Yeah. To
You
get
know?
past.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely understand that a lot of my success is because I connected, and I had the chance. I had the chance to swing. I had the opportunity to swing, which a lot of people don't ever feel like they have the opportunity.
No, they don't even have that. Yeah. I have a similar thing from the opposite point of view, though.
Yeah.
Like, my tendencies came from the fact that I wanted to be an artist in my 20s, okay, and the loathing and the conflict comes from I was trying to join a world that had no place for me. For example, I would go to art college, and my parents owned a variety store, right? They're immigrants. My dad came here with $5,000. You know, they're church-going people. They're very conservative Koreans, and they work 14 to 16 hours a day. I never had a parent-teacher night where my dad and my mom could attend because someone had to be at work, you know, at the variety store. My mom was held up with a shotgun, you know, a sawed-off shotgun to her face. She still has an acid reflux problem because of that, of her nerves, right? And I went to art college, and then there I thought I had, not knowing the economics of this thing, I went to an art college where I took a painting program, and I wanted to be a painter, and I wanted to exhibit at the Venice Biennale and be in Documenta and do like conceptual art and stuff, right? And then, but I would run into all these friends that were in art college as well, and some of them were good artists, some of them were garbage artists, some were just, you know, dilettantes, but most of them were white, and when we graduated from art college, I was like, man, I'm broke. Now I got to make a living. And I'm, you know, there's none of these galleries. They all say, we love your work. We'll keep in touch and let me see what you're working on next. But I wasn't making any money on fine art, right? And then yet I would see friends of mine and we'd be drinking in their studio, and they had a really nice studio and I had a really tiny, crappy place. And I'd be talking to them and like, going like, what are you doing this weekend? I was like, oh, I'm going skiing in Aspen. You know, and I was like, and it slowly dawned on me, all these guys that were like, wanted to be bohemian painters, right? Were actually funded by parents, and they were either the black sheep of the family that wanted to be an artist, right? Or they were like, the parents were, you know, really encouraging of that idea, and they were rebelling against that by trying to be more of a street level artist that hid the fact that the parents were wealthy or something. But all of them to a man had that, you know? And I broke some friendships that way because I was like, I'm gonna go paint a mural this week because it's like, and I'm gonna work, at from like 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. every night because of the fact it's the only art-related job I could have. And you're going skiing in Aspen, you know. Oh, and by the way, you're like, one of my friends bought a house in a really nice part of Toronto, very, very quaint, really beautiful little, bohemian area. And the house is really expensive, right? And he asked me to house sit it one day while I was in my little studio. And he had a little photo of the new Volkswagen Beetle that came out just like second year of that, you know, the redesigned modern Beetle on his refrigerator with word "goal" on it, you know, written on it. And then, yeah. This is the thing, right?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then, but they wanted me to house sit their cats and pop in and check in on their cats while they were away on a vacation that they didn't want to tell me about, him and his fiance. And then they mentioned, you know, like, well, you know, you're living in this loft that doesn't have hot water, Mike, you know, but if you want, we have a basement downstairs if you want to rent that from us, right? And I was like, so you want to be Chan, your houseboy, right? You want me to like come up and mow your lawn as well, and we could talk about art when when you feel like it afterwards, when all the chores are done in the house. Is that what it is? And then afterwards, I retire to your basement, and you're my landlord, And that was the end, And I saw a lot of that. And it was really hard to overcome a lot of that because I realized like there was a strata that I was trying to get into that was not going to accept me. They like I knew a guy in art college who was a horrible drunk. He was the worst dilettante macho painter type. He was like an abstract expressionist, terrible abstract expressionist, and he loved that romantic idea of the masculine painter that drinks all day and Jackson Pollock's his way, through life. And he had everything but the talent. He had all the rest of the personality, right? But the thing is, I graduated art college, and this guy was the biggest pig, like doing lines of coke in a bus type of guy, And I'm faux finishing a restaurant in a very ritzy mall, right, as my job, where I'm putting gold leaf, and I'm the youngest guy on this crew, and I'm going for coffees at 7 a.m. in the morning for this crew, of these painters that are going to paint this restaurant's walls. And I passed by this gallery in this really shishi part of town, and that drunk dude has a show there. He's not a good painter. And I tried to reason this out, And I was like, why does he have a show here? And why don't these other people who are far more talented? And then it was like, all right, he's really rich, right? So that gallery, can get the list of his family's friends and his uncles and his dad's friends and so forth, so that they know we're guaranteed a few sales, right? Plus we get contacts with his family and their network of bankers and philanthropists, right? And it was just like it was the saddest 2-block walk going back delivering those coffees, man. I was just completely like miserable. Like my mom and dad, they were not supportive at all. And as a kid, I was completely angry at them because I knew other parents who were very supportive about their kids being creative, something. But as you get older, I understand why. It's like, they came from a background where they had a Korean War.
Well, anytime you have immigrants,
exactly.
come in at $5,000 or whatever, some people come with even less than this, and the way they have the work ethic, like whenever you're doing something that's not an essential job or something that's like a really defined career. Yeah. Like they're gonna bristle against it.
Or prestige thing that's moving the family.
Or prestige thing. Like we didn't bust our ass for you to like just go around throwing paint on a canvas.
Yeah, and drawing Batman, and which I think no one makes money doing that.
Real pressure to like make a living with it. I'm like, I want to do this career that seems like a flight of fancy, but if I don't do it, I'm gonna go insane. Yeah. And I got my way into that advertising agency with a comic strip. Just the guy was like, fuck it, give him an internship, and then and I worked my ass off for 2 weeks on this thing, and it was for some garbage mailer. And I got to my apartment complex after like a month later when it got printed, and I was having a pretty decent day, and I turned the fucking corner, and the trash can at our apartment complex was overflowing with the flyer I made, where people had just pulled them out of their mailbox and spiked them in the trash. And I was like, I literally make garbage. Yeah. And then I went to a fucking bar. Like straight from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was okay. I just did stuff and I got a job and I'm good. My mom loved me.